All right, I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember this day entirely, but I have some notes here that go along with this barge day. It was the first time I think I took Ernesto to a barge. He never really skated pools before this, and we grew up together. This is my best friend. I've known him for 14-ish years. So I told him. I don't know if we planned it, but we basically met up kind of somewhat early, like 11 or 12 a.m. noon, I guess. And we got in his car and we drove to the nearest pools that I had planned for that day, and I had a lot in Glendale I wanted to hit. I remember landing at this one. Well, the first one ended up being a whole situation, but let me explain. So we go to this one in Glendale that from online just looked like a regular, some maybe older house. Looked nice still. We pull up, we actually go to the house. We're actually walking in front of the house and we're looking at it, and everything looks like old. And there's a box with shit in it, like if someone was like homeless sleeping right in front of the doorstep. It was a weird situation, and then everything looked chained up on the side. All the grass and brush around the house was like growing out. And then it just looked old. There was like an old sheet even covering the front window. So we were kind of sure that we were gonna barge it, meaning just go into the back and hope that the pool was empty or skatable. And Ernesto was the one for this one. He's the one that went first. He jumped the fence. We both go over. It was like two sets of fences we had to go through to get through. Once you got through to the back, not where the pool was at, but like just to like this area that was before the pool. It was like a pre-backyard. I saw in the house that there was like a bunch of like, or even that area was like a dirty. There was like a bunch of cans everywhere, and then you could see in the house, and there was like a bunch of like trash and stuff that just didn't look like someone was living there. So we were like pretty confident about that one, and even the doors looked like had some spider webs on it. Everything looked dusty. So we go see the pool, and I'm like, and it's a good one. It's actually a good pool. It has water in it though, so that's why we didn't skate it at that moment. But we were in the pool, no skating. The water was so big where you couldn't even like carve around it. And it was the first one, so I was like, okay, this is one that is like, it looks like it for sure hits. I was like, Ernesto, we have a list. We'll keep this in mind. If all these, we go through all the other ones and we still have some time, we'll skate this one. That's usually the plan. I like that. Head back to this one before sunset or so. So we're pretty hyped. We get back out of the house, we get in the car, and then we drive off to our next couple locations, which ended up being people living there. I didn't really feel like going and knocking on doors around there. And then we go further up into the higher Glendale Hills, and we park, and I found this interesting cluster. It was three pools that were like kind of on top of each other. It was crazy. There's like a house at the top, and then the one directly below it, because it was on a hill, the one like right below it, like if you fell off the damn house of the hill, you would land into this other person's house for sure, and you would die because it's a really far drop. But they both had pools, and then there was one right across the street from the bottom one that was like, so if you fell off and you landed in their house and you just happened to survive and crawl across the street into the other, you'd see three pools. We go, as we're parking to hit the first top one, and then I was planning to make our way down into the one, and to the like, yeah, starting from the top and going down. We parked in front of this house that was supposed to be, that had this notice of demolition or whatever, but the house looked really nice. And I pointed at that, and then I checked if I had a pool, and I was even more hyped. That's four pools I could check out right, that they're all neighbors, and this one was empty. And I told Ernesto about it. I was like, this one looks a little, this one looks lived in for sure. It looked nice, but it had a notice of demolition. There's all this nice furniture inside. It looked polished or whatever. I think I even saw a piano, even had cameras on it. I don't know if the cameras worked. So we basically kept that in mind. I was like, but let's just go see the first three, because this is like a new element right here. So we go to the first one, and it was this house that was gated. Gate looks old as hell. All the cars past the gate that are in the driveway looked really old and very dusty. And this gate had a lock on it, and we're rationalizing with a situation. And that's pool. The pool game is a lot of rationalizing and like calculating. Like, okay, there's a good chance that no one lives here because of all these signs. And then you're thinking, like, if someone lives here, what are you going to say if they pop out? And you rationalize it all. So me and Ernesto are looking, and then you try and find your way in. The best way to get to the pool to see if it's still empty, or to see inside the house to see if you can get a good look or view if the house looks abandoned. So we have to go. We kind of walk around the property, not getting too close to it, and it has a nice view of this hill. So whenever someone was driving by, the neighbors kind of are peeking out. It looks like we're just like enjoying the view, and we pull out our cameras and act like we're taking photos of the view. So I find this crazy like bush channel ditch thing. I go into these bushes that has like this little trail, fox trail. So you have to go under the bushes. And Ernesto didn't come with me at first because I was just doing it real quick. I just fucking shoot into that fox trail, come out onto this ditch that leads to that goes to right next to this house. But it's kind of downhill and around. It's kind of like a little adventure. As so many pools that I've found, you find these little pathways to their area, to yards or other sides of the house that are just, you really got to look to find this shit. So I find the path, and Ernesto comes and follows me, and we're there, and we're on the side of the house now. We're kind of far from the pool, but we found a little area, and it had a ditch there, and it had a drop in, and I was able to drop in on that shit, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna post some stuff. Everything I'm talking about I have posts for, but I wish I had more because there's a lot of other things that happened that I wasn't able to capture. So we're skating there, we're on the ditch, not even really. There's windows there, and we're trying to peek in, and it looks like someone actually lives there. There's like fucking fresh laundry, it looked like, and then it just looked like someone lived there. I don't think anyone was home at that moment, but it looked lived in for sure. We don't know. You think about maybe it's someone's like vacation home, what if someone's like second home. Looked lived in though, so we're kind of getting a little more like, this isn't really a good sign. I want to go jump this because there's a fence dividing us where that little area we're at to the actual into the actual like area, our property walkway patio area thing that would take you to the pool. But just jumping that fence is like kind of the next boundary, and we're kind of on the property. We're really close. If this person was home and they see us right there, they would definitely trip out that we're right on this like side of the hill right next to their house, because it's really close to their house. And to get there, they probably aren't even aware of that little fox trail thing I found. They probably have never seen anyone in that little ditch area, especially young guys. Who knows what they think about when they see skateboards, if that's a better thing, like, oh, it's just skateboarders skating that thing, or if it's more like, oh, these guys have skateboards, they're fucking crazy kids. I don't know. So I kind of say, before that, we're skating the ditch, and Ernesto does a drop-in that I talked him into trying. And the drop-in, you got to drop in on this ditch, and then you have it's like a fucking cliff after. It's not like a real cliff, but it's like a hill that goes off, and you could like, I guess if you really fucking, you could run off and fucking really fuck yourself up, but it wasn't that much of a death drop because it was still a hill. But he dropped in and he leaned too back, so his board just fucking, he slipped back, shot out, and his board just flew off the hill down to the lower area. And I went to go get it for him because he fucking tried it, so at least I could do it. He was okay. I didn't get a clip of that. So I make up my mind. I'm like, nah, dude, it looks like someone lives here. Let's just not jump this little fence. And it looked dusty there too on the patio and everything. Like no one's walked in this yard area or this outside area for so long. So we end up going fox trail back up. We see the house that was about to be demolished, and we go and knock on the door to see if anyone's home. And there's cameras looking at us, and we're just knocking on the door. No one answers. And I tell Ernesto, like, I should just walk on the roof, because the roof was like, because it's on a hill, there was like a part of the roof that kind of leveled to the street or the sidewalk, and you could easily get on the roof. Well, if I got on the roof, I know I could just go walk across the roof over and look over into the pool. So it was kind of a risky thing. So I got on the roof and I looked, in this pool. It was just that I actually got to see. It was just a really steep square and it didn't look worth it. I think even they had a lot of cancer in it. It didn't look worth it. So came back, had a little rush on that. Me and Ernesto got in the car, drove down to the second house. We see that the fucking house is completely gone. They flattened this area. It was just all dirt. The pool got buried, and we're bummed out. There's like one wall left of this property, and it was a weird spot. But then I saw a good, clear path to the top house, the one I tried looking at before that. So I basically made my next little fox trail up to that house, and I finally saw that pool, the one above, the one before that I saw, we didn't actually get to see the pool, but we were on the other side of the property, and took a little video of that. Water was blue from the pool, which means that someone's probably taking care of the pool. They probably have a pool cleaner. Someone's on top of it. Come back down from the hill, and then we have the one across the street from the bottom house. If you guys remember the order that I said that these pools are laid out in. So I told them what happened. Me and Ernesto are just tripping out on this dirt area, and then we cross the street into this third house, and this one had kind of a driveway that went up and then to the house. Now we go up to the driveway, and then before you actually go to the house, because I had a long driveway that went up, and then it was like, boom, you're in front of the house. Before you even get to the front of the house, I noticed there was cameras. And I always try to avoid cameras, because as soon as they see someone's there, because the house was definitely abandoned, they were working on it, it looked empty. Like they were remodeling it, and you can kind of just see through the house, and you could tell that no one's there. But they had cameras. So we kind of had to like climb down over this wall, like along the hill to avoid the camera, over this like wall thing, down, like shimming on the side of the hill, on the side of the house to get out of the camera's view, to get to the behind this house where the pool was. So we did it. We shimmied along. We went over, shimmied along around the house, got to the pool. Boom. It was covered. I think it had like something around it, as a lot of pools that are empty do. And I saw it. It was bone dry, and we just like swept all the stuff in the center, and it was kind of steep, so I knew that we weren't gonna like really fucking sesh it hard. And I found a little lizard in there, and out of all the lizards I find, it's always a good thing. And I think it was Ernesto's first time seeing a lizard in a pool. I told him about it. It's like a common thing. We're skating it, showing Ernesto how I skate pools. He's trying it. He's kind of tripping out, like, damn, because it was kind of a wall ride pool. So 15 minutes later, we're kind of over it. And I was like, let's go to the next one. On the way out, we know we have to be careful. We have to kind of go the same way we went out, because obviously no one showed up, and it doesn't seem like we got in trouble or it wasn't a bust. So before we go out, we actually passed the house, and there's no doors, and you could just see through, and you can see all the tools and stuff inside, and it had like a case of waters. So I go in to look at the work they're doing inside the house, and it's a really empty house. They have so much work to do. And there's a little fridge there. We open it. We sell little snacks that these workers or whoever's working on the house. See all that. We grab a couple waters, and then we leave the same way we came. We go over the wall. As we're coming down with the waters in our hands, this truck pulls up. This guy just like staring at us, and he looks like some kind of like guy that goes to the gym. He's got a big truck. Looks like Joe Rogan is his personal mentor, or he just follows Joe Rogan and everything. He looks like a Joe Rogan guy, and he has like these big old shades on. He's got like a nice chiseled mustache, and he was like, "Hey," and we met him right at the bottom. He pulled up. It was like perfect timing, and he scoped us out. You could tell, because the first thing he asked us was like, "Where'd you get those water bottles?" And then my friend Ernesto took it over, and he was like, "Oh, we brought these with us." And then he goes like, "You're full of shit. You're so full of shit. You got that from my house." And he was like, "What were you guys doing up there?" And then Ernesto denied it. He was like, "No, we brought these with us." And I guess the guy wasn't sure about that, because he looked a little like not sure. And then the guy I forgot what the guy was saying, but he was going on like, "I saw you guys in my driveway and this and that." And Ernesto was like, "Look, man, we're just skating." He was like, "Get out of here." And we did, and he looked pissed. You could just feel it. And we skated to the car, got in the car. Kind of like, fuck, we pissed someone off. Like, that was the first one of the day. And that's the thing with these barges, is like, if you do it all day, the first one is the one that really, pun intended for sure, but The first one, when someone gets mad at you, kind of throws you in the pool. It's like, oh, okay, now I'm ready. Like, I don't even care. People are just gonna get mad. That's it. But you try and avoid that all the times before that, because it really, yeah, it throws you in the pool. You kind of want to avoid that. You want to, like, it definitely warms you up and it makes you care and not care at the same time. It makes you just like get that, like, okay, whatever, it's over with. So we get in the car and we drive. Where do we go next? Oh, we start heading towards Burbank, and we're going to addresses, and they're all houses that are lived in, except for I think 2 of them. Oh, okay. So this is what happened. We go to this house that's in up towards the Burbank hills. So we go to this one house, and it looks empty and abandoned and old, but it also looks like it's just like it could be an old person that lives there, because it's still a nice property and it's not terrible. It doesn't look unkempt. It just looks very plain and dusty. So we knock on the door, and even the door felt old, dude. I felt like if I knocked hard enough, I'd break the door. That's how kind of old everything was on this house. And no one answered, and we're looking around. I'm like, I got a feeling about this one, Ernesto. I was like, let's kind of look around the property, and I do my thing where I just kind of scope out the house. But we're trying to not look obvious, because there's these workers working on the side of the house, and I think there was like a neighbor across the street who was like doing something. So we go to the side, and just so happens the side had like this fence that went into like the hills around that are like behind this house. And this fence opened, but it wasn't actually on any property. It wasn't at this house. It wasn't part of this house that we're looking at, and it wasn't at the house next door. It was like in between. It was like this little alley pathway, and this fence opened. So we opened the fence, and now we're behind the house. We walked to the side, and then we're now behind the house, and there's like a fence separating this hill area that we're at. That was actually pretty cool, and the house that had the pool that we're trying to look at. And the fence is pretty big, and we're like trying to look at it from this area, but we have to really like look over and peek over the fence. So we do that, and we see it's the pool's empty or empty enough. So I just fucking went for it. I was like, fuck it, let's go. Oh no, I think Ernesto did it. I don't remember. And I'll tell you why this is important. I'm saying if Ernesto or I went over first. So I think Ernesto went over first. He jumps over, and then I follow him. And we go in the house, and the pool looks good. The deep end was like, oh my God. It had water in it, though. Not a lot. This one we could carve around it. We both were. We both like even were like hitting the deep. And I could have probably carved too, but I was kind of like scared. The water would not have thrown me off that much. It was like a little puddle. We could have bucketed it if we wanted to, but I don't know why we didn't. So, and we're seeing the house like, dude, this house is for sure empty. There's like spider webs in the whole backyard. Okay, no one walked in the backyard for so long. We're looking in the house. It looks like there's like a bunch of stuff too, a bunch of old stuff in it. And we're skating the pool. We're getting like a good 10-minute, 15-minute session. I'm looking for the badge of the pool. I don't see anything, and I'm just like, damn, this is such a good pool. It's brick coping. The deep end has like these parts of it that are so mellow. Like at that point, I wanted to drop it on it if the puddle wasn't there, and I know I could have carved it too. And I mean, to this day, I haven't gone back, and I'll tell you, this is why. So we're skating the pool. I even get some tiles for some sous vides, and we're skating, and then all of a sudden, I see a cat in the fucking window. A cat pops out from inside the house. A cat comes and looks at us from inside the house. He like makes its way behind or in front of the curtain to the window, and it's just looking at us. And it looks like it just woke up from a nap or something. And I saw that, and it was like a big red flag. I was like, obviously, this cat is alive in this house. Someone definitely lives here because they're taking care of this cat. And I tell Ernesto, I'm like, dude, Ernesto, the fucking cat. And we both look at each other like, holy shit, someone's here. So we're like, damn, we gotta get out of here. Because this person could show up like any moment, or who knows, like, obviously someone lives here. So we jump the fence, like just how we got in from the back, and then we go out the back, or we go out the side, we come around, we go to the car and drive off. And we're both tripping out like, damn, I can't believe someone lived there. It looks so old and abandoned. Oh well. So we start going through Burbank again. Oh, and then I run into, as we're looking at other houses, and to this point we're passing houses. I don't feel like talking to people, and we're passing houses that have pools, and if they have cars in front of them, all of them were just like obviously lived in. and they had cars in front of them, or just it looked like you could even I think we even seen the people that were living there, except this one. But before we got to this other one, I was driving. I think I was driving at this point. We traded off driving at his car this day, and I bumped into this ditch spot, this other ditch spot that I found years ago, and I've talked to many people about this ditch spot, and I found it, and I was hyped, and then we saw some more lizards there, and we're skating it for a little bit. I forgot we skated it. And it was cool. It's a ditch spot, you know. It's not like skating a big pool, but it's still like skating some transition and flowing around when we were doing that. It was pretty fun. And that was a big, because I've been wanting to find that ditch spot, because when I first found it, I never pinned it. So I never knew where it was, and that was like 4 years ago. And when I found it that day, it was just like, yeah, dude, hell yeah, this is a good day. We found a pool. You know, we found another pool that's bargeable, as it seems, with a cat. But we just found 2 good pools that day already, and we had that whole situation. So it's already been a pretty hectic day. So after the ditch spot, we're looking for more. We're going to more houses door to door, and we go up to this one house that looked so like definitely like no one lived there. Like there was a lock on the front fence. It wasn't like a full fenced off house, but there's like this little old fence that you need to get into the front door. We're not trying to go to the front door. We're just trying to go to the side. But we're scoping out the house before that. And we're just trying to like see, does it look like someone lives there? And then the picture in the Google picture, in the fucking Google Maps or Earth, looks exactly like no one moved anything. And that's like a 6-month-old photo. And I'm telling you, I have a good feeling about this one. And he didn't. And there's a lot of reasons why. Like some, you're more comfortable barging, especially the hill houses, because a lot of hill houses have a lot more property, or they're like separated, or they're kind of far from other houses. But this one, we're like in a neighborhood. And there's like 10 houses just around us, like suburban style. Like it's obvious when, you know, someone's not from there, or, you know, how suburban people can be. So this one I was like hyped. I was like, dude, let's jump the fence. Let's go to the back. And he was like, no, man, like I feel like there's gonna be someone in there. Like it looks lived in. He thought it looked lived in. I was like, what do you mean? There's a lock on the front. Do you think this, why would they put a big lock on the front door? I doubt someone opens that. Look at the trash cans. They have spider webs on them. They're not moving the trash cans. And then he was like, well, spider webs, you know, that shit can happen overnight. I was like, no, these got like dust on them. These are old spider webs. I was like, look at all this. Like, there's a bunch of signs. And there's also little signs that someone possibly lived there. Like, there's plants that looked pretty nice, like water or healthy. So that was his, he just saw little things that he thought made the house lived in. And I was sold on, like, this house is not lived in. So I'm about to jump the fence. I have my hands on the fence, ready to just hike myself over it. And he just sits down. And it's like, I'm not going to do it. He's like, I feel like there's going to be some old person in there just like freaking out if we go to the back. And the way he said it, yeah, he's like, there's an old person in bed that's just going to be hearing us in the back and freaking out. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I was like, okay, I'm not going to go alone. I kind of listened to him, and we're going to the car. We're going to scope it out a little more. We're going to sit down and think on it. So we go, once we're about to get in the car, this guy, he wasn't even that old, but he was sick. He had like a neck brace, and he had like these like things coming out of his neck, like a tube. And he looked pale. He had like jaundice, where you have like that yellow, palish like look, sickly look. And I think his eyes were red too. And he didn't even look that old. He looked like 40 maybe. And he came up to me, he's like, do you guys have a cigarette? That's how he talked. And when he opened his mouth, his mouth looked like white, pale. His tongue was this like swollen white thing. And he said he talked like it because of like everything, because of his tongue was being that big and his mouth looking kind of fucked up. That's how he talked. And he asked us for a cigarette like that. And Ernesto just gave him a cigarette. And I took advantage of that. And I was like, hey man, do you know who lives across the street? And he told us it was like this old lady. And the whole time he's talking, I'm kind of like, damn, like I don't judge people, but dude, this guy looked not healthy, and it's kind of like nasty to see this. And it possibly was from the cigarettes, because he had that hole in his neck, and he's talk. It's crazy because he also seemed like he skated at one point by the way he was dressed, and what do you know about skating? And then he filled us in. He's like, yeah, he's He told us that an old lady did live there in that house, and she couldn't walk, and everyone in the neighborhood like helped her out and stuff. And he was smoking a cigarette. He was just talking to us, and he just left. He said, "Tell us bye," and he left. Yeah, that guy leaves, and Ernesto said, he's like, "Damn, dude, I think that guy's like got I think that guy got that from smoking, got his sickness or whatever's going on with him." He's like, "I think he got that from smoking," and I gave him a cigarette. And now I think that's funny, but at the moment I was kind of disgusted by the whole situation of him. But Ernesto was right. I told him, I was like, "Dude, you're right. You knew that there was an old person in bed there that was just really old and couldn't do much. And if we went in the backyard, we could have fucked up their day. We could have gotten in trouble because, I mean, obviously everyone in the neighborhood is really involved, and they see two guys jumping in the backyard. They definitely will get involved." So after that, I think the sun was starting to go down. I told Ernesto, "Okay, now we can go back to the first one we found." Okay, so we go back. Oh yeah, so that's what happened. We drive back to Glendale, to the first house we found, the one with the box of shit in front. We got some food before that, and we're fucking joking around at that restaurant that we went to. And we're trying to find things to bucket it out. And I wanted we had a regular bucket, but I wanted a smaller bucket because when you have a regular bucket, it gets to a point where you can't use a big bucket anymore because it won't scoop it up. It's too big. You need like a smaller bucket or even a cup to get like a smaller scoop of the water. I was looking for that, and I was looking everywhere, dude, and I like could not find anything. I was like, fuck it, let's just go. Maybe I'll find something in the back, even though I don't remember there being buckets. So we go back to that house, the box of shit. We jump over the fence again, full confidence that we know the deal on this house, and we get to the pool, and we're just talking and like kind of preparing to bucket this shit. And I think we're even planning of maybe not bucketing it, saving it for another day when we have better buckets. Yeah, as we're there, we hear like a slam or something from like the house. It was a weird sound. And we both like, what the fuck? And then it sounded like someone was like coming towards us, but in a weird way, like dragging something, like a piece of metal was being dragged to us. But we couldn't see because it was like around the corner of this house. And we're back there like hearing it come closer. I'm like, oh fuck, dude, let's get out of here. So we go the opposite way because where we came, they were coming from. It didn't sound like they're coming from it's not like they're just coming from around the corner, possibly from the house. And so I'm like, let's go the opposite way. And there was a fence right there, but that shit looked like it hadn't been open in years. And it had like all this greenery I had to like rip through. And I like fucking hit it and was able to get it open enough so we can squeeze through. And then there was a second fence past that because that took us to the side of the house and we had to go through all this brush. And then there's a second fence. And I was going to jump it because it was low enough to jump. I put my hands on it, but I hike myself over, and the fucking thing moves. Like, it's a really loose fence. And I, like, almost ate shit. And I fucking finally got over, and Ernesto came behind me. We get to the car, and we're just like, fuck, dude, what was that? Like, that was scary. It was weird. And then I was like, let's just wait a day, and we'll come back. So that's how that day ended. That was barging with Ernesto, driving around, lurking and barging. It's probably going to be the title of this video.